Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the next installment in our Data in Motion series, Scaling ETL Pipelines for the Cloud Era. Our speakers today are Rochelle Grubbs, one of our Senior Directors of Solutions Architecture at Precisely, as well as Brittany Schultz, one of our Product Marketing Managers. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Rochelle and Brittany. Well, hey there, Rochelle. Thanks so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm really excited to talk about cloud-based ETL. So I figure we could just jump right into it.
Sure.
Um, so organizations have been moving data workloads to the cloud for years. Like, I don't think that that's any new information to people. But from your perspective, what do you feel like is the difference between these legacy, bigger on-prem ETL solutions versus more cloud-native ETL pipelines and more agile solutions?
Yeah. I think today customers are looking for ways where software is easier to manage, maintain, and of course, cloud-based solutions are big in that arena. And when you're doing things on the cloud, then you have different requirements for processing power, different capabilities to access different varieties of sources and targets as well. So I think that it's a way for customers to be a little bit more agile or a lot more agile depending on what they're doing, what they're accessing, and be very flexible and not have to be burdened by all of the management and maintenance of who the next release and planning the release cycles and upgrades and all those for hardware as well as software.
Yeah, so I guess it allows organizations to move a little bit faster and to not
For
be as
sure.
restricted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and as teams are shifting to this more cloud native based ETL, what do you feel like are some architectural changes that have had the biggest impact on things like scalability and reliability when it comes to building these sorts of pipelines?
I think the certainly having the cloud vendor handle everything on the back end, be able to just go quickly and easily add more processing power is huge for customers.
Yeah.
You're not constrained by any of those things today versus the we'll call it the old way or the previous way, where everything was on-prem. So
Mhm.
cloud, of course, as we all know, opens up the world of flexibility for managing your workloads and being able to tune and performance tune in a much faster way as well, because you can easily add resources, CPU, memory, disk, whatever you need as you need it, and scale up and down so you can be flexible in that area, handle your heavy workloads, and then scale back to your normal workloads as you need to.
I'm sure it also makes it easier for people to, maybe people who aren't normally in those pipelines, to be able to access them as well, like doing some of that data democratization where we're allowing this data to spread to more parts of the organization and be used for more than maybe just its initial purpose.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm thinking about like operationally, keeping the lights on kind of operationally, but you're right. Then if you take the next step and think about, okay, who's managing those workloads and
Yeah.
who's doing what, a lot of the cloud solutions, cloud ETL, are intended to open the gamut, if you will, to the variety of different users that can use that. So,
Yeah.
years ago, you had to make a request and wait for the IT team
Yeah.
to help you with your ETL needs. But now, with the advent of cloud ETL and more straightforward pipelines. And on top of that, let's sprinkle in a little help from our AI agents in the background.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not beholden or you're not stuck waiting for the IT team. You can self-serve and you can iterate on your own and you can be creative and really get your questions answered quickly. And I think people then are able to self-serve and get their answers and really think about what's next instead
Yeah.
of make that request, you get it even a day later. Oh, what was I thinking I was going to do with it?
Yeah. And I'm sure that the IT teams are happy about not having to service those requests anymore, that like now they can
Sure.
kind of free up their time to work on other things that are important to their jobs as opposed to just like answering ad hoc questions. I know that happens to me all the time. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so yeah, next question here. What do you think are some of the most common mistakes that organizations make when they're building these ETL pipelines for like hybrid and for multi-cloud architectures?
Let's see. I think a lot of times things grow with the requests. So
Hmm.
some companies are much better than others at looking at the whole infrastructure, but a lot of times, things evolve and change where we start out with, oh, I need an answer to how are my sales over time for this product, for
Yeah.
example. And then as you start going, well, oh, how does that interact with other products? And what are those, and that might be from a different system. And so really thinking through all the data you need versus answering the question at hand, I think can be a real pitfall for a lot of teams.
Yeah. And I feel like this is even more relevant when you're talking about like legacy on-prem architecture. So I'm thinking
For
like
sure.
mainframes and things like that, making sure that
Ooh.
there's this like mission critical data that really doesn't communicate with all these cloud native platforms, at least not natively. Like you got to figure out how to do it. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, and you think about that data that's locked away in the mainframe for large customers. Not everyone in the organization even knows what's there, and so you start digging into how do I get this information, and you learn, oh, that's on the mainframe. Ooh, how do I get that? Well, that's a little bit, it's a different system, and it speaks a different language, and it's going to take some work to get it. But with cloud ETL solutions, you have a lot more flexibility in the kinds
yeah.
of data you can access.
Mm.
So you're not just stuck with on-prem applications or only one type. You can be much more flexible.
Yeah. And that probably helps out with this next thing that I have questions about, which is cost control and vendor lock-in. So those are top concerns for most organizations, right? What
Yeah.
strategies do you think help teams balance things like performance with things like cost efficiency and platform flexibility when they're building these types of pipelines?
Yeah, I think looking at the whole big picture, when you think about like vendor lock-in, there's a lot of solutions. There's many on-prem solutions that have been on the market for a long time
Yeah.
that are very large, heavy on-prem solutions, and you do kind of get locked in. They're expensive, they're hard to deploy, they take a lot of work to get up and running. And so there's a lot of investment that a company makes when they purchase that software.
Mhm.
And then you start looking at other things that have maybe some additional capabilities that you need, but there's so much investment, companies do get locked in
Mhm.
versus the ability to go, pay as you go, or have different cloud offerings where you can buy what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, so with the rise of these cloud native ETL, do you feel like there's a changing role, like a changing of roles that's happening for data engineers and for DevOps teams? And what do you think are some new skills or practices that are becoming more important that maybe either didn't exist or weren't necessarily as relevant before?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a skill shift. Certainly the ability to self-serve. I think that the people who are analyzing the data are now also the people who are gathering together the data because the tools have become simpler to use or do more for you in the background. They're not
Mhm.
programming tools. They're not tools that you have to make a request to IT like we talked about. They
Yeah.
can self-serve and get all that information. And so I think it really gives people the opportunity to ask more questions more quickly and
Mhm.
then be more nimble. And that skill, I think, is a new skill for the people analyzing the data. Whereas before, they just got the answer to their question. And, if you have another question, let me know. I'll go get that answer for you too.
Sure.
But now they can really think outside of the box and think about other opportunities and thinking about what the company can do too with that data.
Makes a lot of sense. Um, so looking ahead, what do you think are some trends that we'll be seeing in this space as we kind of approach the next couple of years?
Well, AI, of course.
Sure. Buzzword alert, right?
We can't have a cloud conversation without talking about AI,
Sure.
but yeah, I think there'll be more and more. I kind of think of it as cloud software and AI kind of melding together,
Mhm.
almost like vibe coding for ETL, cloud ETL software. You
Yeah.
know, people talk about vibe coding today, and you're building code, building programs that maybe you would have, writing Python or Rust or other languages that people are coding in today. But in the same way that people are starting to do vibe coding for applications, they'll be able to do vibe coding within applications
Yeah.
because software vendors are looking for ways to make the use of their software easier. The easier it is to use the software, the more people can use it. And imagine like vibe coding and ETL, just being able to type in to a prompt, tell me, or can you transform old product codes to new product codes? And
Yeah.
it's done for you.
Wow. And something else that I think is going to be coming up as well that I'd love to hear your opinion on is the use of unstructured data. I know that that's something that like we kind of had a renaissance of it like 5 to 10 years ago, but I don't know. I feel like it's still pretty important, and there's still like a largely untapped well of potential as opposed to like something people are really taking advantage of. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. I mean, when you think about ETL and you think about the kinds of things that have been done with ETL,
Mhm.
it's typically structured data.
Yeah.
Handling unstructured data in an ETL pipeline is not for the faint of heart, I'll say. And so then as software vendors start thinking about like how could we expand? What other things could we offer to our customers? Unstructured data is a huge opportunity, and I think also contains a lot of data locked away
Mm.
that on-prem solutions don't have good answers to access. So
Yeah.
and then sprinkle a little AI on top of that, where it's maybe a little bit easier, where your AI agent can go and find maybe a pattern or a type of data that's in a notes field, for
Mhm.
example. How cool would that be?
Yeah. Totally. And I think that it's awesome that we're able to talk about it today. I just can't wait to start using it tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
well,
for
anyway.
sure.
Well, anyway, I wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today. And this was awesome. Thanks, Rochelle.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much to our speakers for diving deeper into scaling ETL pipelines for the cloud era. If you're interested in seeing more conversations like this one, you can check out our other installments in this series, building resilient pipelines for hybrid and multi-cloud architectures, as well as building trusted data pipelines. If you would like to go deeper into this topic of integration and data in motion, hop over to precisely.com to see more demos, white papers, and case studies. If you're interested in a conversation with some of our Precisely experts around this topic, you can go to precisely.com/contact for a personalized demo. Thank you again so much for joining this session and have a great rest of your day.